start playing the video. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am indeed very grateful to Council for Earth Leadership and Sustainability for inviting me to this conference. While I share my screen, I think earlier this year we had the IPCC Sixth Assessment Report, which was published, and now in COP27, the discussion is all around climate crisis and how we can really work towards very grateful to Council for Earth Leadership and Sustainability for inviting me to I'll quickly touch upon the crisis around water while I share my screen. I think earlier this year we had the IPCC Sixth Assessment Report published by German Watch, which was published, and now in COP27, the discussion is all around climate crisis countries which are at risk due to climate change. But many countries that you would see, even the first world countries you see, are at great risk because of climate change. So we are spewing almost about 162 million tons of man-made global warming pollution into the thin shell of atmosphere every 24 hours, as if it was an open sewer. And most of the biggest sources of greenhouse gas emissions are its vehicular emission. We have air transport, we have crop burning, which is pretty common in India, especially during this time of the year. And then we have other industrial processes which are there, the landfills, because we sort of put all our waste into the landfill. So there also it contributes to major emissions, your forest burning that is there. And then of course the thawing of the permafrost. The global surface temperature departure from average, if we look at, you will see that most of the departure that's happened from the average is in the last 4 decades. Of course, the post-industrial revolution, the change started to happen, but the process hastened in the last 4 decades, and actually we are nearing 1.5 degree Celsius pre-industrial era. And 19 of the 20 hottest years on record have occurred since the year 2002, and 2020, and if you look at this, the last 7 years perhaps have been the hottest of all. On June 6, 2021, you can see how the entire planet had turned red. That means most of them were actually experiencing close to 50 degrees Celsius of temperature. And in Iran, Kuwait, Oman, and UAE, it actually exceeded 50 degrees Celsius. If this heat that we are talking about, most of it, that's almost about 93% of the extra heat is trapped by the man-made global warming pollution into the ocean. And hence we are also experiencing sea level rise, and especially the coastal areas are highly vulnerable to submergence as well as to cyclones. Global ocean heat content, again, if you look at, you will see that in the same time as the temperature was rising, the global ocean heat content was also rising, and half of this increase has occurred in the last 20 years. We are all witness to the Mumbai flood that happened in 2019 and subsequently where 80 people were killed, and the Kerala flood, which again happened in 2018. Then there was a flood in Mumbai also in 2021. So the pictures actually tell us a very gripping story. The West Bengal had a cyclone Taukte, which ravaged uh, the Western India, and cyclone, yeah, sorry. So the cyclone Taukte actually ravaged the Western India, but cyclone Yas forced the evacuation, which which was there in the eastern coast, forced the evacuation of 1.1 million people in the neighboring Bangladesh. The Amphan supercyclone, while we were really fighting the COVID, the most critical period, and we were battling that, we also were hit by cyclone Amphan, which almost destroyed 75 to 80% of the Sundarbans area. This is another flooding, where more than 180 people died in flooding and landslides in Maharashtra. So in Bihar as well, we had the 2020 monsoon rainfall. It was 50% higher than the normal, and it was one of the deadliest climate disaster with more than 1,900 deaths. So what we are also I'm trying to convey through these pictures is that the manifestation of climate change is best depicted by the water cycle or the hydrological cycle, and it's actually leading to the intensification of the hydrological cycle, and hence we are experiencing extreme weather events. The same extra heat that evaporates more water from the ocean, causing bigger downpours and floods, it also pulls out moisture even more quickly from the soil, and it causes longer and deeper droughts. So Chennai, for instance, in 2015, it was fighting floods, and within a span of 4 years, we had a severe drought in Chennai, to the extent that people had to stand in queue. The drought, which is being experienced in several parts of the country, has also led to failure of crops and has have pushed farmers into penury and debt, and hence almost about 60,000 farmers have committed suicide in the last 5 years. So this is another picture of drought which was there in Chennai, and people had to actually stand in queue to collect water. So as temperature rises, so does the water use. So people drink more water, so the requirement for water is increasing. The crops, of course, require more water, energy production. You have to produce more energy, and hence you need more water. The industrial processes require more water, and of course, the animals as well. So the overall requirement for water goes up. So water scarcity already affects more than 40% of the world's population, and it's going to actually also, it's actually an issue of food security. It's also going to yield a decline for each 1 degree warming. The corn production, wheat production, rice, soy, everything is going to sort of decline if we are experiencing a rise in temperatures. India, amongst other countries, is considered to be one of the Earth's uninhabitable zones by 2070. The World Resources Institute, this map released by them a few years ago, already shows that 54% of India faces high to extremely high water stress, especially the region which is considered to be the breadbasket of India, and also the regions perhaps who had benefited a lot from the Green Revolution. So what can possibly be done under such a situation? So I would say that India is urbanizing very fast, and almost about 37% of the population today lives in urban areas. And this figure is going to rise to almost 50% by 2050. And urbanization also leads to greater concretization and more creation of impervious layer. but we need to be a little more sensible and see how we can really improve the green cover, or the blue-green cover also, I would say. For instance, if you have a green cover, then most of the rain that falls probably, either goes into shallow, 25% like goes into shallow infiltration, and another 25% into deep infiltration, and there is very little runoff, and of course 40% here you have as evapotranspiration. But if when you have a concrete structure, almost 55% of the precipitation that is there goes in runoff, and there is only about 15% that is infiltrated. So it's a no-brainer that we should actually promote as much green spaces. India has had a very rich traditional water management system in the past, and the rainwater harvesting system. What is required is just revival of the existing system and replication of these, because they have stood the test of time and have been successful in water storage. I think the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, which started in 2019 by the National Water Mission under the Ministry of Jal Shakti, one of the components or one of the pillars of that is also revival of the traditional water harvesting system, amongst others, which talk about creating rainwater harvesting structures, uh, using old structures for recharging of groundwater, creating rejuvenating forests and afforestation. So rainwater harvesting, again, the policy of rainwater harvesting being mandatory for buildings in India is in existence for quite some time. In fact, Chennai had an early advantage where they had it in the early 2000. However, initially the structures worked well and the groundwater level also came up. But in due course of time, people started neglecting these structures, and due to lack of maintenance, most of the structures collapsed. Likewise, the rainwater harvesting has been sort of made mandatory for buildings with a rooftop area of roughly about 100 square meter or more in most of the cities in the country. And many a times, the builders, the real estate developers do install these rainwater harvesting structure just to get the relevant clearances. But almost about 90% of them remain non-functional. Recharge trenches is again a very, very useful way where we can use for recharging of water, not just recharging of water to the groundwater, but also for arresting the urban flooding, a phenomenon that has become very frequent in almost all cities of the country because of intensification of the water cycle. So recharge trenches again are very helpful. They can be actually made along the road. Even the areas along the road can be lowered so that most water from the road can actually move into these trenches and then can gradually percolate and help in recharging the groundwater. This is being practiced, I think, farm ponds and trenches. These are some of the pictures from Telangana, where percolation tanks and ponds and water absorption trenches and continuous contourage trenches, both on the hills and the foothills, have been excavated. Here also you can see people community participation. Through that also people are constructing rainwater harvesting structures. You could also consider even recharging through abandoned wells. So well, of course, was the most popular source of water just about 5 decades ago. But with the advent of the tap water system, we have started neglecting the wells. So if we can clean our wells and we can use it for recharging of our groundwater, that's also quite useful. Even the injection well, for instance, your hand pump that is there, the bore that is there, can also be used for recharging of groundwater. Wherever you have a slope or wherever you have a creek or a stream, you can actually think of making small gabion structures or small check dams where we can slow the speed of the water, and it is retained in that area, and gradually it helps also in groundwater recharge. Rain gardens are also quite popular. It's in India, of course, we do not have many such examples, but in several countries, people are constructing rain gardens, especially in areas where the water is getting accumulated, and through the roots of the plants, not only the water gets cleaner, or it helps in purification of the water, but it also helps in gradually percolation of that water into the groundwater. Bioswales is another very prevalent system by which you can actually arrest and filter water and recharge the groundwater. And good thing is that all these things help us prevent flooding as well. So what I wanted to say was through this presentation that it's climate change is there, it's real, it's happening. There are a lot of conferences that are happening around climate change. Climate change is definitely going to intensify the water cycle further. Cities and coastal areas in India are going to experience extreme weather events. There will be episodes of severe flooding, and even for that matter, drought in some of the regions. With 7,500 kilometers of India, the coastline of India, India is definitely vulnerable to both sea level rise and inundation in the coastal areas, but it's also vulnerable to the uh, cyclones that are there. We are already seeing that cyclones have become more frequent and more intense, causing greater damage. So it's important that we revive our blue-green infrastructure. Of course, we have cities which have had thousands of ponds and tanks which have been silted or have been encroached upon or have been used for now disposal of solid waste. If people can come together and start cleaning up. So while the government is doing its job, it's also important that the citizens step up and they start working on reviving of their blue-green infrastructure. I'm not saying that we should not be looking at grey infrastructure, because they are also sometimes quite useful, but try to sort of strike a balance between everything. Ultimately, it's if you really want to survive through this changing climate, and if you really want to arrest the problems that are ahead of you, then I think if we need to really act today. Thank you very much, and it's once again an honor to be here. I would really like all of you to share your questions with me, and I would be happy to provide answers to them later through email, as I have not been able to join this conference in person. Thanks again, and pleasure to be here.
I thank Fazia ma'am for taking the time out from her schedule and recording that video. It was very informational on what actions we can take to actually properly conserve water, not just for now, but also for future generations. I would like to call in the next speaker, Dr. B.V. Subbarao Garu. Sir, would you like to go next? Subbarao, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for my predecessors, talk, who gave elaborate introduction to climate crisis and water crisis and what we can do all about it. But there are fundamental issues actually which are not being addressed at the respective country levels and also at the COP level. We need to look into these, gaps, and how do we go further and realize the real emergency of water crisis. You see, climate change, say, for the last 27 conferences and all, discusses more on energy, emissions. Yes, emissions are the root cause of the entire problem. Heating up is the added fuel to it. But the thing is, the impact is direct and indirect on water cycle. Water cycle, once the water cycle gets disturbed, as we are witnessing today for the last 1 decade, heavy rains, short duration, aggravated melting of snow peaks, floods, dry land areas getting more and more water, cloudbursts. Not only this, the entire livelihood of the people across the world on water-centered livelihoods like agriculture, pisciculture, and etc., etc., is at a bigger stage. The second thing is, it's not only the water cycle which is getting affected, and in turn, impacting on the lives of the human psyche, human health, and it is also promoting a lot of vector-borne diseases across the world. Every time when we look at COPs, the discussions, it starts with emissions, reduction in emissions, commitments, and who pays what. And even in COP27, they have come out with the statement that polluters to pay. And this is the statement which was there since 1984, Bhopal gas tragedy. And it validates even to this date, I do not deny it. But how long? Where we put an end to it? We are not discussing on the real impacts of the water crisis. The irrevocable damages on the agriculture sector, the fish production, livelihood of farmers and fishermen, and followed up, food chain systems. We are not looking into all these things. We are also not looking into the number one, the source management of the water sources, the source management of the rivers, source management of the lakes. Several tributaries, small and medium tributaries of the major river systems are vanishing rapidly. The source water of the river origin catchments are getting concretized in India, like Kerala, Pune, and also in Telangana in some parts, now in Andhra Pradesh. It's going on. And mindless development in Himalayas. So where are the policies on source water management, protection, conservation? We are not addressing it. We are not even discussing in the COP27. Before we go to the COP27, did we discuss on climate change and its impact on water resources in the country at each state level and each local governing body level? No. India is a highly diversified country, culturally, naturally, ecologically. And water distribution is, quite varied here. Some parts of India, they get a lot of water. Some parts of India are perennially drought. Do we have, some kind of a people's statements on water crisis and climate change before we step into COP27 and talk. We are only talking on emissions, coal consumption, and what is the role of the rich countries to pay for all these things. And this year, we are talking on loss and damage. We are not moving much ahead. Once we talk of loss and damage, I think the second step the corporate sector and the rich countries will introduce is the insurance, climate insurance. We are looking into climate change and water crisis as a business platform. We are not looking into the climate crisis through water perspective in an humanitarian and ecological perspective. The leaders of the present day have collectively failed in delivering any promises at the COP27. And coming back to India, we talk of Jal Shakti, rainwater harvesting and all that. But thing is, unless and until we come out with a specific monitoring mechanisms, auditing mechanisms, we will not able to achieve anything in this crisis management. Yes, crisis management is look towards an immediate steps to take. But do we have trained manpower who can work at ground level? Do we have the trained manpower at the state level, mandal level, and regional level, and at the national level? Is there it? I suggest that we should have a debate on incorporating the water auditing and climate auditing. We need to initiate climate auditing for every region. Take water and start initiating it. It's easy, all these scientific tools which we all tell, rainwater harvesting, those gardens she was referring about. Yes, we have in our Rajiv Gandhi National Airport, we have these gardens all along. But these are only cosmetic treatments. We have not mainstreamed the mechanisms of water conservation in urban planning. Forget about urban planning. Even in our national planning, it's only the national climate mission we have, and we talk many things. But does this national climate mission, the actions envisaged in it, are part of any other action plans? I have my own doubts. In our own state, we have Mission Bhagiratha, which is an ambitious program. Does they included the water and climate crisis? Is there any report on water and climate crisis within the framework of Mission Bhagiratha and Kaleshwaram project, like major irrigation projects? No. The national highways, construction rampantly, they are killing all the watersheds of this country. Is there any report on that? No. We do not know how many rainwater harvesting structures are there in my city, which directly treat, filter, and collect the water, and how much of stormwater flooding it is mitigating. No. Yes, Karnataka is in the forefront on the rainwater harvesting. Even the data on rainwater harvesting with in connection with the climate change and the rain, urban flooding, it's not there, because the governments have not realized the importance of water. We only talk of alternate energies like solar energy, as if solar energy is the only solution to it and it can take care of anything. And electric vehicles, they can take care of it. You see, there is no alternative for water. Either you recycle and drink the same shit water, or you die. Unlike energy, you have several options in it. And there is no emphasis on energy auditing, energy efficiency, water auditing, water efficiency, usage efficiency in terms of climate change. What is the use of talking everything in isolation and claiming that we are delivering the things through a telescopic vision? It's very difficult. It's time for the people. I sometimes, yes, the system, the subsystems in any given larger ecosystem have their own responsibilities, functions in it. So are we recognizing those functions in it, both social and ecological functions? Social functions, yes, the governance has its own responsibility, policy makers. What kind of a policy they are developing to their states and down the lane to their districts and the mandals to the revenue departments level and the nation. Do we have any yardsticks for it? Are we giving any targets to industrial sector in our state or to the country? Industrial sector, the mass transport system? No, we do not have any targets or goal within the sector. We are only talking in terms of generalized things. It's enough. It's 27 years. I feel sometimes the environment movement we started way back and which picked up from 1984 in India and came together in 1992 in Rio Summit, had good platform of discussing the things on diversified activities, multifaceted problems, and multidimensional approaches. But whereas COP climate, it has totally diverted the entire attention to the energy business, corporate sectors, responsibilities. And, we do not talk of the water. And today, the water is being commercialized. Water has become a commodity for sale. Some of the African countries are, they are giving away merely the natural springs. And India, we have also given part of the Mahanadi and other rivers to corporate sectors. Then, where is the people's participation in it? Where is the community's participation in it? So we need to understand the stakes of the stakeholders in climate water crisis and come out with climate water auditing together. Train the people and fix the targets, identify, evolve a goal for each watershed in this country. It's very easy. COP27 is completed and people will come tired and then again we say Government of India with Jal Shakti and all that. This is not the way. How many rivers in our state are in good form, healthy form? How many lakes are releasing the methane gas? The Telangana state itself has more than 65,000 small and medium water bodies and 4,000 and odd lakes in and around Hyderabad. All emanate methane gas, of course, with different degrees of proportions. Then we are not talking of the methane gas emissions from the contaminated water bodies. How do we ensure the health of the urban water bodies? What is the role of the urban water body in regulating the urban floods, mitigating, and the open green spaces we are talking? It's good in the theory. Last 25 years, I conducted several training programs on open green spaces and urban planning. We damn care about the buffer zones, green zones. Today, everything is gone. Hyderabad has 0.05 square meters per capita open space. Thickly, densely populated in the core areas. Just because we have expanded our city, we have included all the present green spaces in the peri-urban areas. We call our city as the green city. Is this an artistic point? So we need to look into the carbon footprint and water auditing climate. So merely these things, we are not able to bring a convergence between the departments functioning on different aspects of climate and water, urban planning, water resources, Panchayat Raj system, municipal corporations. They are not coming to a convergence to address the solutions. We need to look into this. This is the important issue. And more so, ours is a democratic country. Of course, it validates for any democratic country in the world. But we are seeing the most pathetic and unfortunate situation of the democracy in our country. None of these issues, water crisis, climate crisis, energy crisis, they do not figure out in the elections campaign. Election campaign is always dominated by the liquor and money. Where are we heading to? Let's not come out with, the Sukti Muktavali, what we are talking about it. We need to come out with strategies. We have enough strategies, but we need to have a motivational strategies which has a viable implementation to achieve the goal through collective efforts. This is most important. Otherwise, this country with 75% of the dry land may face unusual floods and end up with tragedy. We have to sensitize people, bring more awareness on them. We have to also build a policy lobbying, a pressure group lobbying at different levels of the governance system. The governance and the policy makers may change once in 5 years or once in 3 years. We are not bothered about it. The most dangerous culprits are the government employees, the executives. And all are not bad. You have good, bad, and ugly in the entire system. We need to initiate the viable, practical implementation actions and make them possible for replication. This is most important at this hour of the day. And blue-green infrastructure, and I do not agree with many people on, we need to balance with gray infrastructure to blue-green infrastructure. No. Where is the water infrastructure in this country? The most important thing is what is that we are prioritizing with in a climate and water crisis. We have all the grey infrastructure, flyovers, underpasses, this pass, that pass, mass transport, metro transport, everything. We do not have dedicated drains for sewage water in this country. What is a shame on it? And we also claim that we have 5,000 years of agrarian history. We are masters in water management. Yes, we were masters, and we are slaves in the hands of the policy makers today. Our mind is not free. We only claim. Telugulo oka సామెత ఉంది. తాతలు నేతులు దాగినారు మా మూతులు వాసన చూడండి. Enough of these preachings for us. We need to look into the practical and what we need to prioritize the things. We cannot have the investments for 5% of 10% of the rich people moving on 30 lakhs, 50 lakhs, 1 crore worth vehicles, the flyovers. The country has more than 75%, more than that, 50% are people living in middle class sections, and then people below the poverty line. Do they have access to the protected water? Do they have access to the environmentally safe sanitation? Right in Hyderabad, I can show couple of the bastis where people dig 2 to 3 feet pits, take whatever the water that oozes off, filter it and drink it. Is this the development? And we claim that Hyderabad is world-class city, and today we have the car racing. It's not the car racing. It is the government should assure protected drinking water. It's its primary responsibility. How it tackles, people should tell them. The community should tell them. We are losing our priorities in this direction. So before concluding, I say it is the water infrastructure that is most important and should be prioritized with a climate change perspective in the entire country. We are not looking into the water infrastructure, the needs of the water infrastructure, and only blaming the climate change for urban flooding. We are not reviewing our urban planning at heat pockets within the urban areas. We are not reviewing, auditing the green spaces in the. We have to have, I feel, another auditing is auditing of 5 resources: water, land, water, energy, space, and wind. We are blocking the wind movement in the cities, and we are also blocking the rainwater that reaches the ground. So we need to have the review the town planning with a perspective to climate change. This is the high time, and I wish the CJR will take this forward and brings out many more, not only the online discussions, but also on the auditing aspects of climate and water crisis. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. As an expert and having been involved with us since very long, your expertise and on the subject, and especially the relevance to climate change, it has lots of value, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you, sir. Now I request PSC is a water and community-based tank management to watersheds, livelihoods, any important projects.
Mr. Sai Bhaskar.
Sir.
Thank you so much. I take leave with your permission.
Thank you.
And get back to you sometime later. Thank
you very much. Thank you. VSN Murthy, are you there? I'm not able to see him. If another speaker is there, I know because I am unable to see the names. Please.
Hello.
Nikita, please follow up.
Hello.
Yeah, Murthy.
Yeah, your voice is not audible properly.
Yeah, please continue. It's fine for me. Please continue. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, all of you. Basically, I am not a environmental scientist. and climate. I'm not working on climate also, but I'm working on water and watershed management since long time. Basically, I'm a one way I'm practitioner. So I don't have a presentation, but just I will try to discuss some insights during project implementation of water management and the impact of the climate on water management. Uh, Basically, we are not exactly pursuing what exactly climate change apparently on common man, but as of now, for us, it is clearly showing impact on either on water and on land. These two things we are clearly seeing what exactly some differences has been taken up over a period of time. See, when we see the change means the changes we are seeing in two ways. One is either excess of water or continuously no of water. So we are clearly observing these kind of two situations, either continuous drought or continuous flood in XYZ years. So over a period of drought, we have a acute shortage of water, and to manage the shortage of the water, we try to implement various programs like uh, watershed program, and the check dams, soil conservation, soil moisture conservation. Lot of programs we have been taken up, and somehow we are able to succeed. Somehow we are disturbed the nature some extent, and in other way we have built a lot of dams in irrigation sector. We have developed a lot of water storage structures like tanks or collection tanks, uh, even reservoirs like that. So last 5 years back, we have seen some different scenario that there was a continuous drought for past uh, 20 years. There is a intermittent drought, sir, and during that period, while we are implementing a very big program across uh, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Orissa, Tamil Nadu, all these states, there was a no fill up of these tanks uh, for the several years. And though when we are implementing this project, the people were asking why you are implementing this project, and it is not useful for us. There was no water for the last 7 years, 5 years, like that. They were wondering about our project implementation. But after some time, by when we see last 3 years, there was a huge floods. See, this is a dramatic change over a period of time. I don't know. We have to look at it as a impact of the climate change or something else. But the last 3 4 years, uh, there was a huge surplus of water. Even groundwater also surrounding Hyderabad and other cities. There is a uh, considerable growth in water table. Even our farms also, we are witnessing very good yield of water. And last 40 years, we could not see water in Ibrahimpatnam Cheru. And now we are seeing last year there is a full of water Ibrahimpatnam Cheru after 40 years nearby Hyderabad. So there is some kind of a miracles are happening because of impact on the climate. So like this, the things are changing. But when we are implementing this project, we have tried various methods in watersheds, like catching the water where it is and involving the public in watershed management and soil moisture conservation and various drip irrigation methods. And all these things we have implemented, and they adopted new methods. Somewhere it is gave very good results. Somewhere it could not as per their expectations. But recently we have involved in some kind of a intervention, that climate resilient agriculture, climate resilient crop adoption of the crops. Those kind of terminology also we are using in new World Bank aided projects. So as a part of it, we are implementing and monitoring and learning the lessons from these projects, and we are standardizing the various methods in water management and efficient management of the water for the farmers. As a part of this climate resilient agriculture, uh, in Andhra, we are using various methods uh, like conjunctive use of water and drip irrigation methods, even in uh, non-horticulture crops also it has been adopted, and sprinklers and guns have been used to reduce the wastage of the water and reduce the salinity uh, in the mm, salinity in the groundwater. So these kind of methods we are planning, and it is giving a very good results as a part of water management. And as a part of it, the farmers have been thoroughly trained. What should be the right method of usage of water, and also it has been uh, information has been passed to the farmers to avoid more cultivation of more and more area of the paddy. So when we see in entire Andhra, when we took a data of a project which is covering nearly 1 lakh acres, and in 1 lakh acres, most of the farmers, 90% of the farmers, they are using surface water for irrigation. That is the greatest disadvantage of using the surface water, and it is not giving either profit to the farmers, and either it is contributing to the climate, either it is uh, improving the soil fertility. See, both, hello, both the way, all the way, it is doing harm to the farmers and soil also. So there is a there is clear message from the government that they want to discourage the crop and improve the soil fertility. To improve the soil fertility also, there has been lot of interventions have been taken up, and at the same time, to utilize the water properly, the government and other project authorities, they have been taking very good initiatives. Is it audible now? Hello?
Yeah, clear, clear.
Yeah. Uh, so as a part of this various uh, project implementations and lessons learned from the various projects, it has been documented widely, and it has been communicating to the across other than this uh, project areas, and which is really useful for the community. And when we see the quality of the water over a period of time, we have been testing this the water quality. Last 7 years, the water has been monitored in this project, especially the Krishna water, even in the river as well as in the command area where water being delivered. So at all levels, the pollution levels has been drastically increased, and the appearance of the water also over a period of time, it is a visible change has been appeared. So the based on this water quality in the climate resilient agriculture, as a part of climate resilient agriculture, this yields also has been gradually coming down, and we are taking some measures as a pilot basis to use the good quality of water and polluted water, and there is a some kind of there is a clear indications that uh, polluted water is giving very less yield, and the quality of the production also, it has been reducing and degraded by using this polluted water. So to uh, mitigate this problem, basically it is a very large problem, but so in the small pockets, doing this kind of experiment may not be maybe a eye opener, but it may not be a solution provider for um, across the web, macro level. So all the lessons, whatever the lessons we learn, the scientists like Subbarao Garu and some other, and Mrs. Sai Bhaskar is a environmental specialist, can take up these kind of learnings, can be used somewhere or some places uh, to find out the solutions for this kind of projects and further deterioration of the water and water management. Thank you, Mrs. Saivaskar, for giving this opportunity, and I hope I could explain whatever the learnings from our project.
Thank you, Murthy sir.
Yeah.
That was an insightful presentation. We are just waiting for another speaker to join, NLN Murthy sir from UNICEF. I'll just get back.
Okay. As a part of water management, the government of meanwhile, to fill the gap of another speaker's time, as a part of water management, the government of Andhra Pradesh has been took a very good initiative in 1997 by involving the farmers in water management, by enacting the Andhra Pradesh Farmers Management Irrigation Systems Act 1997. With that, all the farmers in the command area of major irrigation, minor irrigation, and medium irrigation, they became a owners of the systems, and they are managing entire irrigation systems by their own in nearly through the 10,000 water users across Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. This has been implementing in Telangana till 4 years back, and it is not functioning. This was a very good experiment, and this was discarded in Telangana, and the same experiment has been taken up in other parts of the country like Tamil Nadu, Orissa, Assam, and Bengal. In all these states, they are adopting this kind of this experiment, and they are managing the water by the community itself. And it is one of the major innovation by the government, and it has been practiced in even other parts of the world by learning the lessons from our APFMS Act. Okay, thank you, Nikita.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Reddy sir from UNICEF won't be able to join. He's still in the middle of a meeting. I think today has been a very insightful session. And if there are no questions from the participants, we can close the webinar for today. Any questions from the participants?
Okay, Nikita, we can close, I think.
Yes, sir. We can.
Thank you. It had been great. I think these thematic sessions we had been conducting from 6th, and today is the date. And